Hello, 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 everyone. I'm still at the New York Film Festival. I'm still watching movies, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's go. Master Gardener is the 22nd film directed by Paul Schrader. He's most well known for writing Taxi Driver, and he's had some sporadic critical hits as a director, but he's seen a big resurgence in the last 4 years since his 2018 film, First Reformed. He then released The Card Counter last year to mixed reviews, but I liked it, even though there are some major flaws in it, and I'm sure this film will garner a similar reception, but for different reasons. Master Gardener stars Joel Edgerton, Sigourney Weaver, and newcomer Quintessa Swindell, who you're gonna see in Black Adam later this month. The typical Paul Schrader protagonist can be described in one scene. A guy with a dark past sitting at a spotlit desk, journaling his thoughts either on his profession or his mental state. And funnily enough, that is the first shot of Master Gardener. The audience erupted in laughter the second it started. Paul Schrader's conclusion to his spiritual trilogy, which he has been reluctant to call it a trilogy, is easily his most controversial and fucked up set of circumstances he's created in a very long time. It's also his least violent, which is something. I'm not going to spoil what those things are because I didn't know anything walking in, and I support everyone entering a movie under similar circumstances. I'm of the firm belief that if you know nothing going into a film, you are opening yourself up to have a better experience whether you like the movie or not. Paul Schrader's usual themes are present here: guilt, shame, forgiveness, and love, but under this new context, it might be even harder to swallow, even though his past protagonists are former veteran war criminals and climate extremists. I think people might be inclined to believe that Paul Schrader is illustrating a starting point and an end point for redemption here, but I just don't think that's the case at all. Also, I think if you take what Schrader is offering here and you see it as an endorsement and not an observation of behavior, your brain is broken and you're a moron. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. The protagonist tries to convince himself and others around him that he's a reformed person, yet he ends up committing violent and non-violent acts that would go against that assessment. I see this film as a transitionary period in the main character's life, and whether he chooses to commit to rehabilitation is a question that the film doesn't answer. It's all theoretical setup and no theoretical payoff. Master Gardener is just about a guy who's halfway stuck between his old ways and the person he sort of wants to be. Before the film began, Paul Schrader started to describe to the audience that this is a Southern fable, and then he added after, during the Q&A, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "I don't know if this happens in real life, but I think you just have to imagine that it can." And I think he's talking about arriving at some sort of redemption that you can argue is attempted here, but again, I don't think it does. Master Gardener, like its titular occupation, is a state of waiting for things to bloom and evolve in a distant future. And using gardening as a metaphor for someone's change is pretty brilliant. I mean, we don't really see it that often. I listened to a separate Q&A that Paul Schrader did, and he explained it in such simple terms that it made me feel like an idiot, that the garden is sort of like the origin of everything, like with Adam and Eve and all that stuff. I just didn't put it together. Whatever. I'm an idiot, but I think it was really cool to compare gardening to becoming a better person. And I think it's a lot more compelling than what a lot of artists are doing when confronting things like cancel culture and having a difficult past and being a different person in 2016 versus who you are now. And what these other hack artists are doing is blaming the audience for engaging in something as old as time, which is public shaming. And I really commend Paul Schrader for just focusing on his art and making like good movies and stuff. Take notes, Dave Chappelle. The gardening metaphor does get a little muddy though when it comes to Quintessa Swindell's character for a couple of reasons, but once you see the film, you'll know exactly what I mean. In one way, it becomes extremely clear how it's muddy, and there's another separate way that maybe I'll talk about if we make more videos about Paul Schrader. Joel Edgerton delivers another astounding performance. What he's doing here is almost like non-acting in a way. It's so understated, and even though there is narration throughout, he does a really good job at showing you what he's thinking without saying a word. Speaking of the narration, his voice is incredibly soothing, and I can hear him talk about gardening or whatever he wants to talk about forever. Put this man in a nature documentary or something. Sigourney Weaver is a scene stealer, and Paul Schrader makes her say some out-of-pocket shit and things I would never imagine coming out of her mouth, so that was fun for me. Devonte Hines of Blood Orange fame does the score here, which I think is interesting given the subject matter, but I remember it being really beautiful and simple, even though I don't remember exactly what it sounds like because watching all of these films back to back is destroying my brain. Overall, Master Gardener is a ride in every sense of the word. It's dramatic, it's hilarious, it's perplexing at times in a positive and negative way. There are many clunky moments that make you wonder what the intention was, and the obligatory surrealist sequence is actually incredible. The visual style of Master Gardener is no different from his previous two films, mostly low contrast, kind of flat, but compositionally very engaging. In this spiritual trilogy of Paul Schrader's, I would put this above The Card Counter and below First Reformed. In the Q&A after, Paul Schrader said that his next film is going to be about a female trauma nurse in Puerto Rico, so that's exciting, but until then, I'm probably going to give Master Gardener another shot down the line because I really want to watch this again, and I'm giving Master Gardener a 7 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you agree or disagree, tell us in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share with your friends. Do all the things. The next film I'm reviewing is Till, and I got a take. So, yeah. Bye-bye.
You have to get past the Avengers and Marvel shit at some point, okay? Other people make movies.